Sometimes we attempt to control infectious diseases by motivating the public to engage in specific behaviors. For example, it's not uncommon for health agencies to communicate with the public in order to influence their behavior, which we will refer to as a campaign. To develop effective campaigns, the audience and the goal matter. In general, campaigns are more likely to be effective when designed for a specific goal and for a well-defined, narrow target audience. Theories can provide practical guidance on how to make decisions, on what to include in the campaign, and why they should be successful. I will cover the basic principles, best practices, and critical decisions in designing effective communication campaigns. The first decision is to be clear about your campaign's goal. In this video, we will focus on behavioral goals, such as getting a vaccine or increasing hand washing. For that reason, I'll describe basic principles and theories of behavior and behavior change. If your goal is to change beliefs, such as the credibility of an organization, or to increase knowledge, such as learning about a new pathogen, then you need a theory developed for these goals. Even by limiting ourselves to behavior, there are multiple social science theories available that can provide more detail and specific guidance depending on your goal. With that said, imagine we wanted to motivate a target audience to engage in a specific behavior. Behaviors related to controlling infectious diseases often focus on limiting transmission, such as staying home if you're infected and engaging in good hygiene and sanitation, getting vaccinated, and completing prescribed treatments. A target audience is more likely to take action, especially new or different actions, if they are motivated and feel efficacy about the recommended action. People have many motivations. One relevant motivation for emerging infections is to feel threatened and afraid. Efficacy, on the other hand, is the feeling of capability, which can relate to oneself or to the action. For example, people can feel capable of washing their hands, but not feel like hand washing is able to limit transmission. What we've learned from decades of research on fear appeals is that when people are afraid, they act. The efficacy they feel about the recommended action can predict if they do what is recommended or something else. If people are motivated and feel efficacy about the recommended action, then they're likely to do it. If, however, they feel motivations such as fear without feeling efficacy, they're likely to do things to manage their fear, like dismissing the message, getting mad at the messenger, or engaging in maladaptive actions like demanding antibiotics from a physician when they have a virus. Speaking broadly, if your campaign gets your target audience's attention, they will process it in one of two ways. They will carefully, systematically, critically consider the issue in your arguments, or they'll react to irrelevant non-issue cues. Why would you want them to consider your campaign carefully? In general, careful consideration increases the impact of your content, lowers the influence of irrelevant factors, increases the influence of your campaign, and makes it resistant to future campaigns by others. Sounds great, right? The problem? It's much harder to trigger, much less maintain, this kind of careful attention. In general, people carefully consider messages that cover topics they care a lot about. However, even when you pick such topics, there are lots of things that inhibit careful processing. Inhibitors can be personal, such as lack of sleep, situational, like lots of noise, or contextual, such as getting lots of messages simultaneously. When people are not careful and systematically processing your campaign, they use something else to guide their decisions. These heuristics, or mental shortcuts, often have nothing to do with your campaign's topic. One example is social proof. People tend to do what they see everyone else doing. Humans are a social species. A clever experiment used heat maps to see where people look at an ad. If you look at the heat maps, we tend to look back at other people, like looking back at the baby on the left, but we look where others look, looking at the content, like the baby on the right. There are many, many heuristics people use, which have gained popular attention in books like Influence and Nudge. Notably, while people may react based on these irrelevant cues, Their reactions to heuristics tend to be slight and short-lived. This brings us to why knowing your target audience, your goal, and a theory can together provide insight. If your target audience will pay careful attention to your campaign, and you can provide strong arguments in your campaign, then you can see stronger, lasting, resistant results. What are strong arguments? They're credible, involving, and logical. In this case, it's important to convey the logic of how your recommended action is doable and effective, and to use sources that your audience finds credible. If your target audience is carefully paying attention and you fill your campaign with heuristic cues, they're likely to detect all of these weak, irrelevant cues and might reject your campaign altogether. If your target audience is unable or unwilling to think carefully about your campaign, then fill your campaign with heuristics relevant for them and make your behavior as immediate and easy to complete as possible. Be ready to give them the vaccine right after they process your campaign. Wait for them to go down the hallway, and your influence could be gone. In summary, theories provide practical guidance on who, what, when, where, why, and how to design an effective campaign. Audience analysis provides guidance on how to adapt your content and deliver it to your target. The more you know your target audience through research and focus groups, the more you can anticipate how they will process your campaign, how much effort your goal is for them, and how they will react to your campaign choices. Finally, it is always a good idea to pilot test your campaign and evaluate it carefully before it is provided to the public, and to continue to monitor its effects once it is in action.